Save for a few belated Jews in their torchlit cloth dens, it was too late for the nightlife, even of River Street, and beyond the houses were dark. Here and there a would-be sleeper in a shabby hallway stirred or yawned as they went by. But the dirty doorstep groups and curbstone gossips had gone to bed, and by the time the two friends had reached 10th Street and walked down to the corner of Bellbridge, the well-lit pavements on either side of the great house, as far as they could see, were deserted. "There," said Carrington, stopping at the crossway and pointing through the trees at the sinister building. "What do you think of that?" They walked along the pavement, where the black and magnified leaf shadows fluttered underfoot, looked up at the rows of closed shutters, and stopped before the high marble steps that marked the unusual level of the first floor above the basement. Westbrook noticed the vile scribblings on the front door near a dingy sign marked "To Let," with its inscription broken away at the word "Inquire." Beyond, through the gate bars, in a very high brick wall, a courtyard with grassy pavement and outbuildings was lost in darkness. "Porte cochere and stables," said Carrington, "without kitchens and shrubbery in the background. Can you see them?" "It is too dark back there for anything but the ghost," said Westbrook, and then he looked up at the half-lit towering walls, swept by the restless shadows of the trees. "All very grand, of course, but I see nothing so remarkable about it, except that the whole thing is out of place, built at the wrong end of town." "Times have changed, my boy," declared Carrington. "In the old days this part of the world was in the midst of things. The Polish Jew had not yet appeared." "He and the ghost came together, no doubt," remarked Westbrook sarcastically. "Never mind the ghost. I don't pretend to say there is proof of a ghost, but it is the appearance of the place rather than its history that strikes me. From a dramatic point of view, I wanted you to see that garden. It is exactly what I am looking for as the background for a play I have in hand." Westbrook laughed. "Set to music, I suppose. Another version of the Conte Dauphin, wonders included. Where will you put Dr. Miracle?" "Almost anywhere here," returned Carrington enthusiastically. The two men had stepped back across the pavement and were looking along the basement where the barred windows were without shutters, when the dramatist felt his sleeve plucked and turned to see a small, swarthy man close to his side, holding up a piece of paper as if for inspection. A little girl stood beside him, and as the light caught the miniature face and wondering upturned eyes, he noticed that she carried in her arms a large doll. The man tried to say something but stopped, while Carrington took the paper and, holding it up to the light, noticed the words "Bellbridge Street" written in pencil under a number upon it. Beckoning the man to follow him and continuing his conversation with Westbrook, Carrington walked to the corner, turned up to the left, and stopped before a small white building across the way. "There's your house," he said, 1013 Bellbridge Street. As once more reading the scribbled address, he glanced over his shoulder and handed back the paper to the man. The latter again held it up to the light and again tried to say something, but Carrington was talking and had turned away, when the voice behind him seemed to rise in a sharp crescendo, dying into the words, "Away, away." When he looked again over his shoulder, the man was gone. "What in the world became of that little man?" exclaimed Carrington, turning to Westbrook. "Did you see him go into the house?" "No, I was looking across the street." Carrington stepped down to the corner. Westbrook joined him. They walked along 10th Street and looked up and down the brightly lit but deserted pavements. "The man was a Negro, wasn't he?" Westbrook asked. "An East Indian, I should say. I noticed he wore one of those embroidered skull caps, and the little girl had a doll. But wait a minute." He ran back and across the cobblestones into an alley behind the great house, groped his way past several closed doors, along the narrow bricked passage, reached its end, and turned back. Over the wall to his right, a faint light touched the upper stories of the deserted mansion, where he noticed that one of the windows was open. Just then, to his surprise, a soft object with a muffled reverberation struck the pavement near his feet. "Who's there?" he called in startled surprise, staring up at the dark window opening. Then, hearing nothing, He stepped forward and, leaning down, struck several matches.